What's up, everybody? How we doing tonight? Welcome back to another weekly live stream here on Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are watching. Welcome back to these weekly live streams. Like I mentioned, we do these weekly lives on Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock for as long as we go. Usually an hour we try to get to, but if it's not engaging in the chat, we might cut it off a little bit early. But in these live streams, we basically go over everything Celtics related, from news to going over last week's games to going at looking at the forward of this week and answering all Celtics related questions. So if you have anything you want to get answered, anything you want to get discussed about this Celtics team, drop it down in the comment section, as this is a discussive breakdown. But we're going to be looking and diving in on everything Celtics, like I mentioned. So without further ado, let's get into the stream. And if we're looking here, we're on ESPN. First thing first that we're going to be looking at with this Celtics team and looking at the games from last week. If you don't remember, Celtics only played in 2 games this week as they were out of the NBA Cup, as their league is doing that this week as well. A little bit wonky, makes it a little bit weird. The finals is obviously tonight between the Thunder and the Bucks, but there's no games tomorrow. I think they could kind of do a little bit like 2-week break kind of tournament where they just do the games during that break. That's something I'd like to see. But without further ado, Celtics obviously took on the Pistons and Wizards, 2 teams that they've played obviously twice this season and 2 teams that they've beaten twice. And the Celtics were able to do that once again when they took on this Pistons squad. A big game for the Celtics in this one. If we want to look at the scoreboard, we all know Jason Tatum sat out in this contest alongside Sam Hauser, and the Celtics were able to play solid basketball. They went out, controlled this Pistons team very easily. We saw Luke Cornett have a fantastic performance, 5 for 5 from the field with 12 points. Peyton Pritchard with 27, absolutely erupting with 7 threes and 10 assists, where he was absolutely sensational. Porzingis was welcomed back with 19. Derek White with 23 with 7 threes as well. The Celtics clearly dominated. And Jaylen Brown had a quiet game, a pretty efficient one. 9 rebounds, 50% from the field, 50% from 3. Only 14 points with 9 assists, or 5 assists, 9 rebounds. Very, very solid effort from the star in JB. Celtics controlled that one. Pistons did claw a little bit back in the fourth quarter with Ron Holland going explosive, but the Celtics dominated that. And then the Wizards game as well was a successful one for the Celtics. The Wizards did come back a little bit in the third quarter in this matchup, but the Celtics were able to hold their own. Jason Tatum was welcomed back with a 28-point performance, 2 for 9 from three-point range with 12 rebounds, 2 assists. Absolutely fantastic game from Tatum. Peyton Pritchard, once again, ladies and gentlemen, was absolutely fantastic. 15 points, 5 threes off the Celtics off the bench. Luke Cornett was absolutely amazing. Getting to the free throw line for the Celtics, 11 rebounds, a season high, I believe, if not career high. Sam Hauser was plus 27 in his welcome back with 4 threes as well for the Celtics. Ultimately, this team, when it's fully healthy, can compete and obviously be one of the best, as we all know, even in the history books, I personally think. And I'm very, very excited to be covering and talking about a Celtics team that can be able to be in that stratosphere. Like I mentioned, this starting 5 here of Drew Holiday and Derek White is amazing on defense. You have Drew Holiday playing these guards just the best he can, giving it all out on the defensive side, as he doesn't have to be that focal point offensively for the Celtics realistically every single night. You have Derek White, who steps up on both sides, being clutch in the fourth quarter, hitting some big time threes, like I mentioned in that game versus the Pistons, having 7 in that contest. Just fantastic work from him. And Peyton Pritchard, the third guard in the rotation, has really risen to the occasion this year, obviously in those 6 man of the year conversation. But not only has he stepped up his game offensively, but defensively, he's been pretty solid. He did get, broken by Jordan Poole versus the Wizards and pointed at, but, he has held his own defensively. He's an aggressive and tenacious offensive rebounder and a guy that would be willing to do whatever he needs to fight for that last play. And that's what you got to love about Peyton Pritchard, love about that Celtics breed, that Celtics basketball, is that is what we appreciate as fans. And I know that obviously every Celtics fan is preaching that Peyton Pritchard 6 man of the year, but I know a lot of other NBA fans around the world have also seen that performance from Pritchard. We've also seen the Jays as well rise and grow as teammates together. Jason Tatum had his jump shot, fixed, and it was really, really solid in the beginning half of this year. It has quieted down a little bit in my opinion, but ultimately Tatum can still be that player where he shoots inefficiently but still get 12 rebounds and still be a successful player in this offense, being that playmaker, being the guy that sets this team up to get what they need to do, finding Pritchard, finding Derek White in those corners for those shots, hitting Sam Hauser when he is ready. And another player in Sam Hauser has been perfect in that catch and shoot for the Celtics team as well. Like I mentioned, I could go all day rambling about this team and how effective these players are, how guys like Sam Hauser, like Luke Cornett, like Namus Keita have stepped up to the occasion when their number has been called for this Celtics team. Ultimately, there's been some Celtics that haven't gotten their number called, haven't been able to necessarily perform in the best light, or maybe this season, or possibly not even performing the best light, but haven't been given that much of an opportunity. And that just goes to show you how deep this team is, but how up front and stacked it is already, that they don't have to go into those deep pockets and they have to extort that. Now, obviously, we want to look at the Celtics. Like I mentioned, we went over this fantastic weekend. I got my boy Crampy in here. Shout out to Cramps, saying huge win after that last game. It was kind of close. That's what I'm saying. The Wizards brought it back a little bit, obviously, in that third quarter. Celtics were still able to win that third quarter. Fourth quarter, they were a little bit scary too. Celtics were able to control that with their defense, limiting the Wizards to be able to rally back into that game. And then the Pistons game, they pretty much held them to their own, which was really nice. After two big wins after that disappointing Memphis loss, it was needed for the Celtics to kind of get on this momentum train. And the Celtics have a little bit of an easier schedule coming up as well, ladies and gentlemen. If we want to look at the Celtics schedule here for these next coming up games, the Celtics have 2 games this week. We all know that the Celtics do not play until Thursday. I accidentally said Tuesday in one of my recent videos. I thought I read it as Tuesday, but my eyes were wrong. It's Thursday, as obviously tonight, Tuesday, is the NBA Cup final between the Bucks and Thunder. Let me know your predictions down below in the comments. Personally, I think the Thunder are going to be able to get it done, even though the Bucks are going to be running rampant with Giannis, trying to score over players like Chet Holmgren. Or Chet's not playing, excuse me, Isaiah Hartenstein and Jalen Williams. But I am very, very excited to see how that Thunder defense can limit Giannis, but ultimately I think the Thunder as a cohesive unit are able to get it done, and I want them to get it done for my boy Bryson over on Thunder Digest. If you don't follow Thunder Digest, want to get some updates on the Thunder team, definitely go check him out. He's one of our dedicated creators over here at Digest Media, puts out fantastic content. But let's get back to the Celtics. Like I said, not playing on Tuesday, they're playing on Thursday. Nobody plays tomorrow. And the Celtics, both matchups this week, are versus the same team, ladies and gentlemen. And as you can see already from the first matchup, we can see it from the preview, the Celtics will be taking on the Chicago Bulls in this matchup. So if we want to get a little bit of a preview of this game, kind of going over it, Celtics are favorites here by 14.5 points. Goes to show you how dominant the Celtics have been versus the Chicago Bulls. Celtics are getting an 82% win percentage. We want to look at the leaders there for these teams. Levine leading in points, Tatum leading in points, rebounds, Vucevic. He was a monster the last time the Celtics played the Chicago Bulls in the NBA Cup game. Celtics were able to get the best of the Bulls, I believe, in that contest. Let's look at this. We want to look at some injury updates for the game. Horford is game time decision. I believe he will play. He was just off a rest. Porzingis is a game time decision, obviously with the heel, which we can get into it a little bit later as well, but there's not really much major updates for the Bulls. Giddey was just taken out. EJ Liddell is a game time decision. I don't know if he got called up from the Bulls. Dalen Terry, excuse me. He's also out, and Levine is also a game time decision, which could be key, for the Celtics being able to get this done. But yes, the game is at TD Garden. Celtics taking on the Bulls here. Going to be an exciting matchup. And the Bulls have been a team amongst the trade rumors. The Bulls have been a weird team versus the Celtics. I was going to say. Because we played them NBA Cup. Yes, we did beat them. It was a close game. I forgot about this one. But yes, in the group stage, we already beat them this season. Just wanted to double check that. But like I said, Celtics, Bulls, going to be a fantastic matchup in my eyes. One of the key matchups to watch in this game, personally, that I think we need to keep an eye on is Nikola Vucevic. Like I mentioned, he's been, if we want to go back to this, actually, that would actually be better to be looking at this, to kind of go over Nikola Vucevic when I'm talking about him. We want to look at his stats so the year so far for this Bulls team. Want to look at him. 21 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. He's been very, very effective for the Bulls this year. And the Celtics obviously have Horford and Tatum, or not Horford and Porzingis on this game time decision. So if the Celtics most likely will have Al Horford, as he did rest in the last game, probably to prepare to go up against a player like Nikola Vucevic, as he is a big time opponent, can try to slow him down as he, similarly does with Giannis Antetokounmpo. But if the Celtics are without Kristaps Porzingis, going at a player in Nikola Vucevic, having Al Horford is going to be key to have as an interior defender to kind of limit those rebounds, limit those second chance points the Chicago Bulls can get, because the Chicago Bulls are notoriously known for kind of being a good offensive team with Zach LaVine and stuff. They really lack some defense. So for the Bulls, if they're going to compete in this game with the Celtics, they're going to have to outscore them. And that's a very difficult mountain to anybody to climb in the NBA. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bulls, a team that is 12-15 under 500, when the Celtics are obviously 21-5. So, like I said, limiting Nikola Vucevic's points, specifically if Zach LaVine's not playing, is going to be key for the Celtics to be able to win this game and kind of get this over the hump. And the Celtics schedule over the next couple games, we do want to look at it. Let me see if it's on ESPN here. But if we want to look at the Celtics schedule for the next upcoming, for the next couple games here, they do have some easier opponents. Let me just look at this Celtics schedule here, so we can pull this up for you. So like I mentioned, they play the Bulls in back-to-back, not back-to-back, but they play Thursday and then they play Saturday here this week, and those are the two matchups. So like I said, limiting Vucevic, if the Bulls are resting LaVine for the first matchup, maybe they're saving him for the matchup at home. We'll have to kind of analyze that, go over that as time comes. But Chicago Bulls team expected to make some trades, but not necessarily at this very moment. So I think they will have most of their roster going against the Celtics team. Limiting Vucevic is going to be a key X factor with the Celtics interior kind of issues. But we want to look at the next couple games. Celtics obviously got the Magic on Monday. Now the Magic are without Paolo Banchero at this point, still without Franz Wagner. If they had both of those guys, I think this would be a marquee matchup. Two of the top teams in the East battling each other would be one to circle on your calendar, but unfortunately with both of those guys out, don't count out the Magic, as they can be a scrappy competitive team, but I don't necessarily know if they're going to be able to bolster with the Celtics. We obviously know the Sixers have gone through their issues through these last couple, through this season with all their injuries. Embiid is most likely going to be out this game on Christmas as well. We'll have to wait and see if he does play, but Celtics, Sixers on Christmas at home. I don't see the Celtics losing that game. Pacers as well have been a little bit of a rocky team dealing with injuries. We'll have to see if they make any moves before this kind of window, but if they don't, the Celtics could get some easy wins over here. So the Celtics could realistically kind of going into the new year go 2-4-6, and the Raptors 7-0 going into the new season, into the new year, which would be key for the Boston Celtics. As we already know, 21-5. If we want to look at the standings here, they are only 1.5 games back from the Cavs. The Cavs have started to lose some games, and obviously both of these teams have a well over margin over the teams in third place, the Knicks, the Magic, the Bucks. But those teams could start to creep up at any moment's notice. The Bucks have started to get hot. Once the Magic have Paolo and Franz Wagner back, they're going to be a competitive team in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks are starting to figure things out, and they're going to be getting Mitchell Robinson back soon. The Heat could maybe fall off if they trade Jimmy Butler. The Hawks are an interesting team. They could be wanting to make some pieces. So, yeah, the East could definitely see some shakeups ahead of the deadline. Ultimately, I do think that the Celtics still are in control of the Eastern Conference, even though they are in second place right here at 21-5. They have beaten the Cavaliers once already, and even though the Cavs have beaten them, the Cavs have lost some weird games. They both lost to the Atlanta Hawks, so maybe that's just the Celtics' kryptonite, and the Cavs' kryptonite is just the Atlanta Hawks. Good teams' kryptonite is the Hawks, and they obviously lose to the bad teams like the Wizards. But like I said, I think the Celtics could go 7-0. Then they obviously get a tough little stretch here in January. Timberwolves, Rockets, Thunder, Nuggets, Kings. Pelicans is a little bit easier, but tough little 5-game Western Conference road trip after the new year, which we usually see. But like I said, I think going into this week, going into these Bulls matchups, it's going to be a little bit easier for the Celtics. They get kind of a little bit of a break at the end of this year, kind of going up against some of these Eastern Conference teams. We'll have to wait and see if any guys get cleared from injuries. But like I said, I think they should be able to handle most of those games. Maybe lose one to the Pacers or one to the Bulls, maybe like a bad shooting night or a very good defensive game from the Pacers, which they're not that really good at defense either. But if they get, some of their players back and spark some energy, maybe they can compete with the Celtics. Maybe they lose one of those games. But I feel confident that the Celtics can handle most of those games, specifically these two Bulls games, and kind of kind of go off into a good finishing week, which is key. You don't make the NBA Cup, but you win the 2 games following it, and you win your 2 replacement games. In that little break span, 2 week span, you only have 4 games, but you capitalize on it the most, make the most of it. I am ecstatic with that. Like I said, that's kind of going over the Celtics matchups for this week, kind of going over the Celtics in general and what they're ultimately doing from last week. If you have any questions or anything revolving around the Celtics, drop them down below in the comment section. We recently just released a video not too long ago, at least maybe 30 minutes ago. Let me check at this very moment. But we released a video about, 26 minutes ago at this moment, talking about some Celtics trade updates. If you want to go check out that, obviously, you guys can go check out that if you have any questions revolving around that as well. But that was a breakdown of an article from Chris Forsberg. We also broke down some big news on this channel as well, revolving around some players possibly getting brought up on that video. Crampy has also saying Vus has been a big problem. Wanted him a few years ago at the deadline for the season. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When he was on the Magic, he was a player that was very coveted by a lot of teams, Vucevic, and there's clear understanding in why he would be coveted. He a couple seasons ago, obviously he was a guaranteed 20 and 10 every single night on the Orlando Magic as the number one option, and was proving that he could be that star, but just maybe star on a middle of the pack team. He was obviously going to be a second or third star on a contending team or a championship caliber team. And when the Bulls acquired him, when the Bulls kind of went in all with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Lonzo Ball, that team was at top of the East. It was one of those scary teams, and could have still been if those players stay healthy. If you look at DeMar DeRozan, you look at Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is playing phenomenally this season, and he's on a little bit of a bad contract. But if Lonzo Ball doesn't get hurt, if he doesn't get hurt, you look at this if you look at this now, this team in the Eastern Conference would still be a top tier team in the Eastern Conference, and they would have made moves around the edges as well. They definitely would have been in some big conversations if they stayed healthy, and that's unfortunately the downfall of it. And for Vucevic, I know that there'll be some teams that desperately want him. The center market is a little bit big this year in forms of the trade market. There's a lot of players like Vucevic. I know the Raptors have declined to obviously say that they're going to be trading Jakob Poeltl, but a player in Jakob Poeltl could also be moved on the block as well. There's also some cheaper centers. There's Robert Williams, who's making around $12 million. Jonas Valanciunas making around $9 million. So for the Bulls, trying to figure out a trade, trying to get something done for Vucevic might be a little bit difficult. But ultimately, I do think that there will be some market for him, and I think that he will be traded by the end of this deadline. No, unfortunately, not to the Celtics, but him on the Celtics a couple seasons ago would have been an absolutely fire move. Obviously, would have been no Kristaps Porzingis, but having a guy like Vucevic still putting up these numbers and staying consistently healthy as well for the Chicago Bulls over these last couple seasons, I think he would have been a solid addition for this team. But for the Celtics, kind of going into those additions as well, we mentioned that for the Celtics in that video that there are some possible moves relating to Jaden Springer, as his name has been, thrown around since the beginning of the year, as the Celtics obviously wanted to sign Lonnie Walker, couldn't find a deal to trade Jaden Springer, so they ultimately had to let Lonnie Walker go. But for the Celtics, that move could still be available. The Celtics could possibly use that as a trade piece. He makes around $4 million. And the Suns, or it's not the Suns, excuse me, the Celtics could use that as a piece to get save some money in the luxury tax. And that could be key for the Celtics as well. But fortunately, we'll have to wait and see if any team will take Springer's contract. I think he's a solid player. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that the Celtics are moving off him. I just think similar to a player like Romeo Langford or Aaron Nesmith, where there's just not enough room for a player like Jaden Springer to grow, to kind of get the minutes on this team. We've seen players like Drew Peterson on a two-way that have surpassed him in the rotation, getting more minutes. So unfortunately for a guy in Jaden Springer, I think it's best if they both part ways and Springer moves on to another team. But we'll have to wait and see what the Celtics ultimately do. They could keep Springer, could give him an expanded role in the future if they feel that's necessary, but they could ultimately look to move off Springer, save some money in the short term, and possibly bring up a player in Drew Peterson, or even move a player in Springer for another need. There are some, possible needs that the Celtics could be exploring, maybe some potential extra big help. Whoa, voice crack. Some potential extra big help, potentially an extra wing if they don't feel Jordan Walsh can be that playoff guy. Celtics have a lot of possible options, just limited resources and obviously limited ways that they can make moves, but anything is a possibility with this Celtics team overall in my eyes. I truly think that this team could possibly get some things done around the edges, could possibly add a guy that maybe plays, 5 to 10 minutes sporadically here and there. They're not going to be making, a major upgrade in these roster moves. For news regarding around Kristaps Porzingis, because I wanted to go over that as well before we sign off. For Kristaps Porzingis, there's been no really big update. Like I said, he's a game time decision versus the Chicago Bulls. But from what we heard from KP is that he hurt his heel. The Celtics were being extra precautious because they heard him say something. They took him out. And because of that, the Celtics were just making sure that he was okay. When they talked to Kristaps Porzingis, Joe Mazzulla said that he had not spoken to KP, but he said that KP said that it was nothing really big. And when KP spoke about it, Kristaps Porzingis had to say the Celtics that he's had felt this pain before, that it's something that it shouldn't keep him out for multiple games, even the next game, and that he should be ready to go. Now that Celtics could take that as we're going to be extra safe. We will give you an extra day of rest. The Celtics could have him rest these 3 days, obviously since he hasn't played since Sunday. And if the Celtics feel that after Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday he is ready to go, they can go in the comment section. Like I said, you guys have been absolutely fantastic in this stream. It has been great. Like I said, thank you guys so much for tuning into the weekly stream. If you enjoy the weekly streams, if you want to come through for more of them, make sure to hit the like, make sure to hit that subscribe button. As like I said, these streams are going to be here every Tuesday from 6 to 7. We're going to be going live. Sometimes we'll have guests. I unfortunately really blanked this week and was super busy. So the person that I was trying to have on as the next guest, I forgot to ask to have on as the guest. So that's my personal bad on that. So I will try to get some coordination done for next week and the week after. On Tuesday, it is Christmas Eve and it is New Year's Eve. So necessarily, I don't know if we're going to be going live or necessarily live on Tuesday. We might switch it up. We might change the date of the live stream next week just for those 2 weeks. So make sure to keep in tap for that. Make sure to kind of stay in tune for that kind of there. But I will be keeping you guys posted. There might not be no streams for the next 2 weeks, or they might be on a different day just because on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, I unfortunately will not have time to go live as you guys expect. But like I said, thank you guys so much for coming to the stream. It's really, really appreciative for what you guys show in the support. Like I said, a little bit of a short stream, got some likes. Thank you guys so much. If you do enjoy the content, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, make sure to share the content. We're trying to get to our goal of 6,000 subscribers. We are less than 100 away, and our goal is to hit that by the new year. We got 14 days to hit that goal, 2 weeks. I think we can get 100 subscribers in under 14 days. Let's do the math on that real quick. Let's figure that out for you guys. 100 divided by 14, 7 subscribers a day. I think we can definitely do that. So if you guys do enjoy the content, like I said, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. I'll catch you guys in the next stream, next video.